Some songs get banned because of what they say, but this one got banned because no one knew what they were saying. It sounded like a party. It was a party. It was sloppy, loud, barely hanging together. Yet somehow, that was enough to trigger a full-on moral panic. Teachers thought it was filthy. Parents thought it was corrupting their kids. The FBI thought it might be a national security threat. And one governor thought it was so dangerous, he banned it from the radio entirely. And the lyrics to this song? Turns out, they weren't even dirty. But by the time anyone figured that out, it was already too late. And, oh yeah, that's not the reason I didn't play the song at the top of the episode. The reason I didn't play the song at the top of the episode is because of lawyers. This is Don't Play That Song, the show that digs into the music you almost didn't hear. From the chart toppers that sparked outrage to the deep cuts that disappeared without a trace, we're uncovering the stories behind the tracks that were banned, blacklisted, and pulled from your favorite playlists. I'm John Michael, and on this episode, Louie Louie by the Kingsmen, a 2.5-minute garage rock classic that set off a censorship crusade, a national freakout, and a 31-month FBI investigation. All because it sounded like something you weren't supposed to hear. Now, before we talk about the FBI files, and the band, and the PTA meetings, let's start with the song itself. Because Louie Louie isn't just a song that got banned. It's one of the most covered songs in rock history. And the version we all know, the version that sounds like it was recorded in a garage by accident with a mic hanging from the ceiling, that version was a cover too. See, the original Louie Louie was written in 1955 by a guy named Richard Berry. No relation to Chuck. Richard Berry was an American R&B singer out of Los Angeles, working with groups like the Flares and the Pharaohs. He wrote Louie Louie after hearing a calypso-style song called El Loco Cha-Cha. It had this infectious rhythm that stuck in his head, so he wrote a simple little tune around it about a Jamaican sailor pining for his girl back home. The lyrics were pretty straightforward. 3 nights and days I sail the sea. Me think of girl constantly. That's it. A little lovesick sailor song. Totally innocent. Berry recorded the song in 1957. It did okay in the Pacific Northwest, but it never blew up nationally. So, a few years later, broke and needing cash for his wedding, he sold the rights for $750. Yeah, that's it. $750 for what would become a multi-million-dollar rock standard. Fast forward to 1963, Portland, Oregon. A bunch of teenagers, barely out of high school, form a band called the Kingsmen. They're not polished, not pros, but they've got a little local buzz going, and they're playing dances, armories, VFW halls. And that song that was doing okay in the Pacific Northwest in 1957, Louie Louie, by now it's a bit of a regional hit. Bands all over are playing it live. It's become a staple for garage bands who need something loud and easy. And one day, the Kingsmen decide to record it. They book a 1-hour session at Northwestern Inc., a tiny studio in Portland, on April 6, 1963. And this is where the magic and the mess happens. They've got one mic, hung from the ceiling. The lead singer, Jack Ellie, is wearing braces. And the band's never even really rehearsed the song properly. But they start playing. The drummer accidentally comes in early. The band tries to follow. Ellie leans back and shouts the lyrics, trying to be heard over the instruments, his voice basically dissolving into noise. And when it's done, it sounds wild. Raw, chaotic, electric. It's also kind of a disaster. You can barely understand a single word. There's a weird squeal from the amp at the beginning. Ellie's vocals are totally unintelligible. The tempo shifts mid-song. At one point, he literally loses his place in the lyrics and jumps back in a beat too early. It should have been a throwaway track, but instead, it's a masterpiece. A fluke masterpiece. The kind of thing you couldn't plan if you tried. The single gets pressed. It starts getting local airplay, and people love it. Not despite the messiness, because of it. This doesn't sound like the clean, polished pop of the early 60s. This sounds like something teenagers would play. But then, the rumors start. Because no one can understand the lyrics, right? They're slurred, shouted, muffled. So, naturally, people start filling in the blanks with their imaginations. And people's imaginations are filthy. High school kids start passing around typed-up versions of the lyrics, full of graphic, sexual content that doesn't exist in the actual song. Some versions include lines like, "At night at 10, I lay her again," or "She had a rag on, I move above." All fake, all totally made up. But they sound just plausible enough that people start to believe it. A concerned parent hears the rumors, tells the principal. The principal calls the radio station. The DJ calls his manager. And pretty soon, Louie Louie is under investigation. And in one state in particular, it goes even further. By 1964, the song's blowing up. It peaks at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. It's on every jukebox, every radio station, every basement record player in America. But in Indiana, it's about to get blacklisted, officially, thanks to Governor Matthew Welsh. Clean cut, buttoned up, very into law and order, very not into songs that might make teenagers want to grind on each other at prom. By this point, the rumors around Louie Louie have gone national. Newspapers are running breathless stories about obscene lyrics. Catholic schools are banning it. Some DJs are playing it with warnings. One parent even mailed the lyrics to the FBI, scribbled with notes about all the indecent lines they believed they heard. And Governor Welsh? Well, he doesn't need to hear the song. He doesn't want to hear the song. He hears the rumors. He reads the panic. And he goes full moral watchdog. In February 1964, Welsh declares that Louie Louie is pornographic and bans it from all radio stations in Indiana. Yeah, not just public stations, all stations. Some stations push back, but most comply. And just like that, Louie Louie becomes the first record to be officially banned by a U.S. state government. That is wild. But it wasn't just about the song. It was about the fear around the song. It was about what it represented. Kids listening to music their parents didn't understand, dancing to words no one could decipher. And it sounded like rebellion, so it had to be stopped. Now, you might think the story peaks here, and I wouldn't blame you. Governor bans the song, moral panic ensues, roll credits. But that's not the case, because the real twist comes next. After all the letters and complaints and fake lyrics flying around, someone contacts the FBI, a concerned parent in Florida. They write a letter to Robert F. Kennedy, the U.S. Attorney General at the time, saying, "This record is being sold to teenagers and has very obscene lyrics. My daughter brought it home and I was shocked. I'm enclosing the lyrics as she and her friends heard them. Please investigate." And here's the thing. The FBI actually does. They open a full-blown obscenity investigation into the song, and they're not messing around. They interview witnesses. They contact the FCC. They pull the record off the shelves. They test different pressings. They slow it down to try to make out the words. They examine suspicious background sounds for hidden messages. One report even notes that there might be a faint background noise at the 54-second mark that could be interpreted as a certain 4-letter F word. Spoiler alert, it was just the drummer hitting the cymbal. When all was said and done, the investigation took 31 months. That's not a typo, not a punchline. The United States federal government, through its mighty investigation arm, the FBI, spent the better part of 2.5 years trying to crack the case of Louie Louie, a song that sounds like a frat party falling down the stairs. The whole thing started in 1964 and dragged on until 1966. That's 31 months of taxpayer-funded surveillance, audio analysis, and cross-agency memos devoted to figuring out whether some teenage rock band from Oregon was secretly spreading obscenity through the airwaves. This wasn't just 1 or 2 agents poking around. This was a real investigation. They pulled in radio stations, subpoenaed the original recording, interviewed witnesses, consulted audio experts. They listened to the record at different speeds, 33 RPM, 45 RPM, even slowed it down to the point where it sounded like a demon chanting underwater. And every time, same result. Nothing. They couldn't make out the lyrics. Not because they were encrypted, not because they were censored, because the recording was a mess. The band didn't know what they were doing. The mic placement was off. The vocals were mumbled. It was one take, one mic, one barely rehearsed attempt at a cover song. It wasn't hiding anything. It just wasn't clear. And the more they tried to decode it, the more it slipped through their fingers. But the real kicker came in the FBI's final report. 119 pages long. Typed, filed, archived. And in that report, after years of speculation, investigation, and sheer bureaucratic confusion, the FBI's conclusion was this. And I quote, "At no time were the lyrics of the record Louie Louie by the Kingsmen intelligible at any speed." Or, to put it in plain English, we have no idea what they're saying. And with that, no charges filed, no laws broken, no obscenity found. Case closed. All that effort, all that outrage, and in the end, it turned out Louie Louie wasn't dangerous. It wasn't obscene. It wasn't even clear. It was just loud, sloppy, and different. But sometimes, that's all it takes to create a monster. The legend of Louie Louie only grew bigger and bigger. By the time the dust settled, the song had already done what rock songs are supposed to do. It freaked out the adults, it united the kids, and it became immortal. Louie Louie stayed on the Billboard Hot 100 for 16 weeks. It became a kind of accidental anthem for garage bands, punk bands, bar bands, you name it. You can hear its fingerprints on everything from the Stooges to Nirvana. But let's never forget, this whole thing started with a band that barely knew the lyrics, who recorded the song in one take, with one mic, in a room the size of a storage closet. But here's the real sad part. The Kingsmen didn't get rich off this. The band got into a legal battle over royalties. Their lead singer, Jack Ellie, the guy with the braces, the shouty voice, got kicked out of the band right after they recorded the song. He wasn't even around to enjoy the success. He joined the army and became a horse trainer. Richard Berry, the guy who actually wrote the song, got just $750 when he sold the rights. But fortunately for him, in the late 80s, after decades of people covering the song and it being used in ads and movies and TV, Berry finally got a proper payout. A publisher cut him a check for around $2 million in back royalties. So at least one person walked away with something more than a headache and a legal folder full of government files. Today, Louie Louie is everywhere. It's been covered by Iggy Pop, Black Flag, the Beach Boys, Motorhead, and even Barry White. It's the unofficial fight song of the University of Washington Marching Band. It's been used in beer commercials, teen movies, and probably 100 college basement shows that ended in a noise complaint. It's a song that doesn't go away. A song that doesn't care if you understand it or not. And maybe that's the point. Because when you strip away all the panic and all the paranoia, what Louie Louie really did was expose something deeper. That in 1963, America wasn't just afraid of bad words. It was afraid of losing control, of teenage culture, of music that didn't play by the rules, of voices that didn't sound polished or professional or safe. And Louie Louie, it was none of those things. It was messy. It was chaotic. It was unforgettable. So they tried to ban it. Didn't work. Because as it turns out, Sometimes trying to silence something only makes it louder. Thanks for listening to Don't Play That Song. I'm John Michael. If you liked this episode, follow the show, leave a review, and tell a friend. It really helps. New episodes drop weekly, so hit that follow button and don't miss a beat. And if you want even more, full episode transcripts plus the official companion playlist for the podcast is available at don'tplaythatsong.com. Listen to the tracks, read along, and dig deeper into every story. Until next time, keep it loud, keep it honest, and whatever you do, definitely play that song.